There's a lot of change and transitioning happening right now. And I feel that in my life. I feel a really deep inner restructuring happening and an outer one as well. And this is necessary for all of us. And I think what it's bringing to the front for me is a different kind of resiliency, resiliency that comes when we really allow ourselves to show up and to listen in a way that is more of a feminine nature, that feminine principle that lives in each and every one of us, regardless of what your gender is. The feminine is a capacity to soften and lean in and listen. And when you're undergoing a reconstruction of any sort, there's often some stress and some strain. And when you're in that kind of place, you don't want to be told what to do. You don't want advice. You don't want to fix it program, do this, do that. And I think that that's very much more of a masculine kind of energy that comes in and lets you know that, that I'm going to say he, but it could be anyone, knows what you need. And then what happens, it's just another cover over something that you're really interested in unwrapping and listening to. So for me, I feel a lovely leaning in a way of listening that maybe I haven't done in this way before. And perhaps it's this kind of injury that has slowed me down enough to, listen and ask the important and harder questions. What are the activities, the behaviors, the postponements, or the not looking, or the not letting ourselves know that we haven't paid attention to? So for me, this has been great, and I can see and feel the integration that is coming together because of that. And to say a little bit about the restructuring on the outside is I know many of you know, and I've spoken about it in my newsletters and on retreats and in meditations, that our house has been undergoing a huge reconstruction. And in many ways, I feel like we're taking back our home. If you know a little bit about our history, I have three daughters, two that are 22 now, and they're still twins. They've always been twins. They'll always be twins, but they're very different and unique. Like each and every one of us are so unique. Well, they have transitioned out of school, out of special education, and now they're in what's called adult services. So on a regular basis already, I deal with 12 to 15 agencies for each twin, for Abby or for Libby. And so that's been an ongoing thing for many years. And within those agencies, there's policies that change, there's people, there's revolving doors. It's constant, the in and out. And now they're going into a whole different phase, which is a whole different conglomeration of agencies and how services work. And so when I say I feel like we're kind of reclaiming back our home, we went through all of these years with, a very much of a swinging door, or moving to access different programs for their healing, for their benefit, and to kind of navigate, a not so easy terrain. And it hasn't been easy, but it's been beneficial. I don't have any regrets on that. But here we are at a whole nother stage. And we've been living back in Santa Cruz for almost 3 years now, I think. And we're back in the home that we lived in when the babies were born, or we were nearby to here and we lived here soon after. And it feels like just in this coming back home that whatever traumas, were taking place at that time, and there were many. Abby and Libby were 1 pound as they started out. And there was a lot to navigate. And for myself, I had to, as a single mom, pretty much just kind of take care and really move into that masculine energy And I feel that a lot of the right side of my body that I'm healing now has to do with playing a multiplicity of roles, wearing many hats, and kind of winging it most of the time, but doing my very best to show up. And so now, as the old forms are collapsing, and I mean this in a very real way, as we feel this in our collective, the form of the masculine is really collapsing, or it's asking for attention. It's calling for healing, I think. And I feel it in a really sensitive, kind of tender way that I may not even have words for at this time. But along the way of this journey with my daughters, a number of, how I heard it phrased one time, microaggressions, like paper cuts. You don't really see them. You can point at it, but it's not that visible, but it's kind of happening over and over again. And it's there, but can't really quite give it a voice. And it has an impact on the body, heart, brain system. And it comes from the environment, comes from our very kind of male dominant Western medicine, head oriented culture that we're so conditioned to live in. And that's breaking up and it's falling away in a certain sense. We have to participate in that. We have to allow ourselves to be vulnerable and be seen in our softness, in, the unveiling, the opening to those softer places that are asking for healing. So these paper cuts, are a form of trauma that happens with all marginalized groups. And these groups are beginning to get a voice. And I've been, even though I don't have a disability per se, I have, for the past 22 years, lived in the environments of marginalized people and have been very up close to how that gets treated or not. And it's had an impact on how our family has been able to live. So it's a really wonderful time what's happening right now. I just spent a full day just yesterday with my daughters in a meeting where they have become eligible. They were chosen in a kind of a lottery to participate in something that's called self-determination, where you get to steer your services a little bit more than just accepting what is given to you without having much of a choice in that, and feeling kind of desperate sometimes and taking whatever is kind of given to you, kind of sometimes just thrown at you. And you can't really argue with it because that's all it is, and it's what you need, the support. So that's happened a lot. And I've really come in many times along the way. I have said, because I am a self-reliant character, it's kind of part of my composition, and I would just say I'd rather do it myself. And as some of you know, and some have come to live here with us in the past you know, number of years, I don't know how many, I've been having people come from other places, or I, hire them myself and just utilize all of my own funding, because I'd rather not be in the midst of this different way of operating that is so steered by Western medicine or some kind of limitation. And I don't want to live that way. Even having these daughters that are so precious, they don't want to live that way either. So we're kind of rising up and gathering a different kind of resiliency, and regaining the fortitude to to kind of steer our trajectory to a bit, and not in the way of controlling, but in the way of leaning in to listening to what can we create from a space of more options, of choosing, and of dipping into uh, resiliency that's always here, and tapping into a resourcefulness of care. And I think that's really what drives it, is compassion and care, to not let yourself close off. And I know that's not easy. And I know that I'm speaking about my particular situation, but I'm sure that you can relate to it from many different angles. And um, so all of this has to do with all the different wounds and traumas that people have collected forever and carried forward here because of the denial, you could say, the suppression of this capacity of leaning into the feminine that is soft and able to receive and able to give from a place of already enough, and really to listen. We're taking it all back. We're allowing everything to be here. So any suppressed trauma, anything that's been denied, all wounding, anything that hasn't been met or seen. So all of that can be here and unravel and soothe and heal and be integrated into your wholeness. That's what we're here for. And then this is what we pass on. We've collected a lot from those that have gone before us. Some has been very beautiful and wonderful, and wisdom and light and strength and courage and nourishment. And also there has been pain that has been passed forward. And we have the opportunity to be part of the cleanup, to really do a collective limpia. So whatever we do for ourselves, the entire collective benefits. So don't forget that. When we take care of ourselves, you will notice, when you're taking care of yourself, that those around you have permission to take care of themselves. And that means, like, to be able to be vulnerable, also to let somebody see your tears, to kind of dispel all of the myths about, our humanness, that vulnerability is a weakness. It's not. It's our strength. So when we let others really see our pain, because we need each other, we need our authenticity. We don't need the mask, the persona. And when we do that and we allow that to be seen, we give others permission. So I don't mean to shine, to just be a shining light, but to also, let yourself uncover those parts that are difficult, because that gives permission for everyone else to do that. And it's there. It's there. We all have our challenges. So what I want to say about my other, well, I have three daughters, but Abby right now is in a yogini phase. She's just incredible. She's unstoppable. But she has found this perfect match once again for a teacher. And I see the change in her. I see her body lining up. I see confidence. I see her not wanting others to do things for her, really wanting to navigate more independently. I see her bhakti, that shining light. And that's because she's found a place of connection and of belonging. And we all need that, whether you have a disability or not. Many of us have disabled hearts. She's part of this program, which is called You Are Enough. And this yoga teacher is developing it as a not-for-profit at her studio. And Abby has wanted to have private sessions, so we made an arrangement for that to happen. And the teacher had to canceled 2 times for good reasons, but it really, you could see it kind of dampened Abby's energy. She was disappointed. And then, eventually the appointment happened, and even on that day, the teacher had a challenge coming to the appointment. So she, did come, and she actually sprained her toe that morning. But she came and did it here at our house rather than the studio because I was being used for something else. So she came into our home that we're creating, to be this sanctuary, a soft place to land and to have healing happen and connection and creativity and belonging and warmth. And she came into the home, and we had a certain area set up for that session. I couldn't be there because I couldn't change my schedule. It was my one of my work times, and I only was in and out to see little bits of it. But I asked what the fee was before then. She wasn't telling me what the fee would be. She told me the fee was going to be $200 a session, and I was like, wow. Well, that's a very expensive hobby, Abby, even though I know it's not a hobby. But I thought, wow, somehow we'll make this work. And so, I responded to that message, and then, just saying, we'll make it work somehow because this is really important. And I got, she called on the phone then immediately, and I saw that it was her, and I picked it up. And she just, she was really just still moved from the session. And she said, Prajna, I don't want to charge anything. I want to just give this to you guys. She goes, I can't even begin to tell you how moved I was in coming into your house and meeting your daughters and feeling how much you do for them. And hearing Libby, laughing and giggling in the background, and feeling Abby's full dedication, and feeling the softness in her home. Well, it really, so I said to her on the phone, well, now you've got me in tears. She said she left and had to sit in her car, and she just was crying because she was so touched. And she said, this is going to be something that the You Are Enough program takes care of, and that she wants to meet with Abby every week. And I just was I'm really touched by that. But what I want to say about that is, when you really take care and listen, the universe responds in ways that we can't even imagine. I don't feel myself as individual or separate from my family, from my friends. So if I'm taking care, it's extended to them as well. And one more piece of that. Oh, so good. Aren't tears great? Oh, yeah, let yourself have them. Tears of compassion, tears of vulnerability, tears of deep care. To let your care show. You come into a different kind of resiliency, that's really alive and authentic. To be resilient is to move through something very challenging and to still have gratitude. That really anchors us in a resiliency that doesn't say be tough, has nothing to do with being guarded or strong. It has to do with being courageous and vulnerable and grateful for all that life brings. Even when it's difficult, you might not feel it in the midst of it. But if you really listen, you'll find the gratitude in it. Like, how could it be any different?